What's up, guys? I'm going to do a quick video on Shib. I post a lot about this on my trading view. This is just going to be a little bit more of a clarity idea on what I am seeing potentially forming in this chart now. So, as you might know, if you are familiar with my trading view at all, I was discussing Shib going long down at 803. In one of these candles, I started saying, I think we're going to start going long, and I was looking to sell somewhere up in the 1000 area, and actually it ended up working out a lot more beautiful than that because I managed to sell a lot. I believe I sold some of it in the 945s, and then I entered again in a long above 940, which then I rode up to 1272, and I probably sold in this first initial wick. And then we kind of continued consolidating here, and then I missed this because I wasn't watching it. I started playing a little more stock market stuff. Missed this big run, unfortunately, but hey, we came back down. And now, unfortunately, looking at this here, I mean, it's obviously a pretty clear, rounding top here. Could this end up forming into something larger later on? It's possible for sure. I mean, I think we would probably potentially come back down and maybe test some of those lows again in the 940 area. So the reason that I'm kind of thinking that is, if you look here, this is on daily candles. We had two big levels right in between here. One was at 1208 and one was at roughly 1140 to 1130. I'll call it 1140 on the daily candle bodies. Here we would have wicks that came down to right about here 1088, and then we'd buy back up, and our bodies would continue closing above 1130, and we would continue on our run. And then when we finally broke above 1208, we would have a similar thing where we'd have pretty much bodies closing up here around 1250, wicks that fell down to about 1208 to 1170, and bodies couldn't close below until finally the bodies started closing below, and we fell down to the area where we used to wick support here, 1088, and we also started closing bodies below this 1140. So using candle bodies, that's my favorite analysis. Gives me the best confirmations of which way the trend is potentially going to continue. And as of right now, the biggest level for me on Shib is roughly 1140, but you could probably call it 1120. And then once we continue down further, 1100. And these levels are going to continue to get lower. Now, right now, we're pretty much closing candle bodies roughly around this 1077. So that's going to probably be the next key area. But the biggest thing for me is this previous support turning into resistance. This is something that Shib has been pretty much doing since we broke this 1208 area. Even if you pulled these, I think I have these on the bodies already. Not quite, but pull this to the body there, 1209. Zoom over here. Yeah, roughly 1209 to call it 1199. Couldn't close candle bodies below right here. Used it as support. Rocket shipped back up. Then we finally broke it eventually right here. We couldn't close bodies below 1215 to 1200. Same here. Started to close below, but we still rocketed back up. And then on the last attempt here, when we broke it, we actually found resistance on it, and that started the dump. So you kind of have a similar thing here. We finally broke the 1140, couldn't close candle bodies above, couldn't really close candle bodies above. And then eventually we failed, and we just started making lower highs, broke it. So now we're kind of at the next level between 1088 and 1090. Could call it 1091 to 1100. And look what we're doing now on the 1 hour. This is just a 1 hour. We can't close below. So, I mean, we can't seem to push back above. It's going to try for a little bit, I assume. It might take more than just one hourly candle. But I assume that we're going to keep trying here. If we can push back above, then, it's possible that we might make another attempt at the 1140 area, or just make another lower high here. which is around, as of right now, around 1122. But for me, until we can reclaim and start closing above and holding 1140 as support, it's not really looking too good for Shib, which is unfortunate. But I've been a Shib bull for a while, so for me to start flipping bearish, I mean, took me a bit. But this was a big range. I mean, if you just pulled this out and put it on a 4 hour, you kind of are looking at, this is a logical time to get bearish in my view, right? You had this huge move up all in this range here. This is no resistance. No resistance. Rocket ship up for weeks and weeks and weeks. We didn't find any real support in this range. So then we started making some support here, roughly between this 1090 and, we could call it as high as 1400. We had like pretty good range of potential, price action right here. Very clear. Well, what's going on right now? Shib's starting to break below it. So this is a time where if you did buy in these lows and you waited through all here and were expecting it to go a lot higher from here, this is the time where you start having to really pay attention, because if this can't seem to clear 1140 again or even 1100, this may end up turning into another consolidation below resistance and starting a further downtrend that could lead you all the way back down into some previous consolidation, which you don't really start any of that consolidation again until right about here, which is about that 940 that I was talking about. That's why I said 940. And then that ranges all the way pretty much down to about 840. So you have like 840 to about 940. That's your next key support. If Shib could come back down and flip that into support, then that would be a good area to start buying again. But for right now, unfortunately, to me, it looks like whether we just continue straight down or we have some, I don't think we'll continue straight down, but most likely we will continue to create higher lows. I would assume that we wouldn't get back into above 1140 if we're going to remain in this bearish trend that we have been doing for quite some time. So I just wanted to put that idea out there, and this is my analysis here. We're just pretty much, we put in this lower high, we fell to a low that was pretty familiar, and then we just put in another lower high. So, you could probably try to make a case that this is just creating some kind of, most people will probably say, if they're really, really bullish on Shib, that, this is just creating some kind of falling wedge, which it's possible, but how far down are you going to go before you decide that it's bearish? You could come all the way back down into this 940, 930 area to complete this falling wedge, if anyone is talking about that. You could also, make a case that this is going to be some kind of larger pattern here. That's very true as well. But so far, the two support touches were down at the 791. So does that mean that this has to eventually make its way back here before its next bounce up? That could be possible as well. So I would just be very cautious if you are starting to get bullish on Shib in these levels, because it's not looking too dang good for Shib. So I'm expecting us to reject 1091, but I wouldn't be alarmed if we popped up to 1100, and I also wouldn't be too surprised if we popped up into potentially this 1106 to 1112 area. It's putting in potentially a downtrending break on the 5 minutes. So, but selling is going to slow down here for a little bit while we potentially push up. So if you are looking at longs, right now it's potentially putting in a little bit of a double top. But if you are looking for longs and you're like, I really want to get long, at least wait to start seeing some kind of consolidation above 1090 to 1100. And then wait for the actual momentum break up. And even if we do, this is the next resistance here. So it's really more so 1100 and then the momentum push up. That's probably the smartest thing would be if you were going to look for a short-term long, wait for a break of 1100, consolidation, and then a push up. And you really only have two levels. You have 1130 and 1140, and that's really where you would take profits. So, I mean, depending on how much money you're putting in, that may or may not be a very significant trade, but that's where you want to start seeing support holds way up here, which it says way up here, but it's really not that big of a deal. Like, that's not too far away. It's not too unrealistic to say, like, I'm okay with waiting and being patient for it to reclaim 1140, and then I'll put some money on it. But right now, like, trying to get the bottom or buy the exact low, it's not really worth it, because you could just rally up here and then reject and then fall and break the low, and then what was the point? Or, I mean, unless you're going to stop at a break even, then of course, if you're in here, you're at break even stop loss, then I guess it's worth it. But I'm just not seeing anything right now that's telling me this is very bullish. I'm seeing a big range break falling into an area of no resistance. When there's no resistance, there's no support. And when there's no support, you can pretty much continue down with some bounces, of course, but that's where I'm at. So, don't hate me for this video, but you got to remember, I was buying here saying long here. So I already sold all of my position here, and I'm perfectly fine with rebuying my position again down here. And I'm also okay with rebuying my position if we, showed some more bullish price action, or we potentially broke up above here. I mean, if you break and confirm above 1400, I mean, you have a pretty damn good way of saying, like, hey, this is confirming up here above 1400. This motherfucker's going up here into this range in the 3500s. So that's a double right there. If you ignore any of this price action down here and you wait for something like that to occur, that is where you get that money, the next leg. But buying right here, when it's more odds of it coming down here, not really worth it anymore. So, kind of sucks to say. I've been tracking Shib for a very long time, and that's where it's at right now. So I'm just not interested in buying any of these dips just yet. So I'll wait for it. I mean, this isn't too bad of a looking daily candle that could signal a bounce. We've had a lot of red daily candles. I just don't really think we're going to break above 1140 and at the highest 1209. So right in between where we are in 1209, this is like the range of doom. Even if we chopped like that for a while, that could set up for another bear flag. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So just be cautious. Well, I'll let you guys know if I change my mind. I just wanted to put this out there for my Shib lovers. All right. Peace.